Premier of the British Virgin Islands, Dr. D. Orlando Smith, sought to lay to rest on Tuesday evening the unease of citizens about the state of the economy and the government's cash flow. In a national address aired on both radio and television, Dr. Smith, who is also finance minister, emphasized that the tough economic times being experienced globally is the new normal, which the BVI hasn't escaped. In light of these circumstances and the need for his administration to carefully review its plans to achieve sustainable growth as well as fulfill commitments made in his party's manifesto in 2015, Finance Minister says the decision has been taken to delay the budget, which was initially stated to be presented last month.
This year, we will be submitting our budget somewhat later than is customary, likely in January. While a December budget is ideal, budgets may be submitted after that time, and indeed have been submitted by both sides of the aisle as late as April. We want to take our time in reviewing the allocations to the various programs that are carried on to ensure the most efficient use of government resources. And this includes developing a capital program. There are a number of critical decisions that have to be made on this front, and we don't want to make hasty judgments.
The Premier said one of the main hits to the BVI economy is the downturn in earnings from the financial services sector, which has been on the receiving end of sustained crackdown from the regulators in the UK, US and Europe. This, he said, has forced international banks to implement de-risking measures which only serves to isolate and impair the operations of financial institutions in the BVI and the wider Caribbean.
Billions of dollars in fines were imposed upon these companies. Suddenly, the banks that do business here in the BVI were concerned not just about serving their customers and clients, but also about de-risking their operations, which is another way of saying they wanted to make sure they did nothing to offend their regulators. In this context, banks began reconsidering how they do business here in the BVI and in other jurisdictions, and some banks began exiting the region entirely. That situation became significantly more difficult with the publication of the so-called Panama Papers.
However, Premier Smith was quick to add that the outlook isn't quite doom and gloom, as his administration is employing a three-pronged strategy to fortify the financial services sector and diversify the scope of products offered as the BVI financial services industry, which provides an essential and viable service to the entire global economy. Meanwhile, Dr. Smith, though not providing much details, said his administration is taking steps to make good on debt to vendors.
Timely payments to vendors for services rendered is an issue which is largely related to the manner in which revenue is received by government. We have now put systems in place so that vendors can be assured of timely payment for services rendered, that they too can meet their obligations.